I talked to you, you have had a really interesting journey. We've been literally eating 900 more
Yes.
calories, which is crazy. And your really good friend is Carrie. And, she told you about me. And what were you thinking when you saw Carrie going through her journey?
To be honest, at the beginning, I thought, here we go again, because she
Hmm.
and I have done it all over the years,
Hmm.
sometimes together, sometimes separately. And it's been a roller coaster of gaining weight, losing weight. And I just thought, we're 60. How is this going to work? I
Hmm.
was very skeptical, especially when she kept saying, well, I'm really not dieting. I'm not dieting yet. It didn't make sense to me. So, it took a while, but when I started to see results, I thought, well, maybe this is the right way, because
Yeah.
the other ways definitely, they worked, but they didn't work long term for either one
Right.
of us.
Right.
So yeah, honestly, I was skeptical at the beginning, but oh my God, she looks so good now.
Hmm.
And part of my impetus to join your program was she was my chubby friend and she was getting skinny, and that couldn't happen.
I appreciate the honesty.
You need your chubby friend if you're chubby. So anyhow, no, I was thrilled when I saw that it seemed to be working. And it also was a whole new language. I was like, what is a macro? How
Hmm.
are you? It sounded so complicated
Hmm.
initially, but that was basically kind of what I thought when I saw her start. But
Yeah.
it probably took about 6 months before I really realized this is working. You know,
Hmm.
um, plus that's kind of the curve of bandwagon jumping on and jumping off. And when I saw
Yeah.
it wasn't just going to be a bandwagon thing, I hope she's not watching this.
No, she's not. No.
Anyhow, yeah, that's it.
Oh, yeah. So why don't we first start talking about what types of things or what were you struggling with the most in the beginnings? We had quite a few things going on.
Um, in the beginning, for me, I mean, it was a big change, honestly, because I went
Hmm.
from really not working out at all
Hmm.
to having to kind of set up a little home gym. And that was tough, I have to admit. And plus, I don't know if you remember, like I started and 2 days later we went to Florida. We have a home in
Yes.
Florida. And it was like, but I remember you saying there's never a good time to start. So I thought, well, if I
Hmm.
can do it, start now and get through this first month, of being away from home, then, it'll, I hate to say it, like make you better, but I'll be able to do it and
Yeah, I
I'll,
mean,
work through it, because
hmm,
there's always something going on.
hmm,
That was kind of tough for me. And also just understanding the language of macros.
hmm.
I didn't know what that was. And now I realize, I've done Weight Watchers so many times over the years. Really, that's what they do. They just pre-calculate, right? Isn't that what they do? They calculate their
Well,
points based on macros. I always kind of thought that.
yes and no, because Weight Watchers has like 0 points for like whole wheat pasta, right? But
Right.
can you imagine
No.
how much, right? It's a lot of carbs.
Right.
So they're a little bit flawed because they try to, for lack of better words, dumb it down.
Right.
You end up intaking a lot of, which is nutrient dense food, but a lot of it,
A
right?
lot of calories in it. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
if you're like at 0 points and then you're like hounding, like gluten-free or whole wheat
And
pasta.
I I did that when I was on, there were certain foods, I can't remember what they were now, but yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Hmm.
But that probably understanding the whole macro thing was tough at the beginning.
Hmm. What kind of like symptoms would you say were you experiencing before we started working together? Like what were you like, oh, this is annoying or that's annoying?
uh, there were a lot of like, I turned 60 this last year, and all of a sudden it seemed like just getting up and down off the floor was really tough. Like I
Hmm.
just felt like basic things were getting tougher and tougher to do in my life. And I'm 60. I'm not that old, I have my in-laws here right now. They were both just in the hospital and they're recuperating in my home. And, they're in their mid 80s. And I, I want to be stronger at that age,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully. I mean, I know there's a million and one things that are out of your control as you age, but I just felt like I was really becoming weak. I couldn't help move furniture. I was just losing my mobility, truly. I mean, not to
Mm-hmm.
the point like I couldn't walk and stuff, but it was embarrassing if I had to bend down and pick something up. I mean, I looked like
Mm-hmm.
an old lady.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's scary.
Yeah, it is. And it happens very quickly. Like
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, it's like kind of like you drop off this cliff where you're like, what the hell just happened to me? You know, yeah, it happens overnight.
Yeah.
People like, oh, yeah, 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 but it kind of does.
Yeah, it sneaks up
It
on you
does.
after the years.
It
Mm-hmm.
does.
What, you said you tried Weight Watchers. What other things have you tried before?
Um, I did Weight Watchers. I did, the diet where the high protein, no carbs, where I would like live on ground beef. And I don't really like beef, so that was a struggle for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the worst thing I ever did was injections of the human, what is it?
HCG?
HS. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, I lost weight. I mean, I got thin. Um, but it all came back on so quickly. And it came on. Carrie and I did that one together. Our, our, we say we got ugly fat after that one. Like when our when our fat came back, it wasn't nice fat. It was ugly fat. It was ripply and like, you know what I mean? It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like a clump anymore. And I swear that changed something in our system, our makeup. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I've done all the fad diets. Most of them involve totally giving up something and eating a lot of something else.
Mm-hmm.
And not, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, probably the most balanced, rational diet I've ever done is Weight Watchers, you know.
Mm-hmm. And that one
But
was even a little swayed, a little messed up.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So those are the things I've done. And I, believe it or not, you probably won't believe this. I used to run. I used to be a runner until my
Mm-hmm.
feet got so bad. So, I did work with a trainer and I used to run when I was in my 30s, and that really helped to keep my weight down. And it seemed like when my feet went bad is when my weight really started to balloon, like in my late 30s, early 40s.
Mm-hmm. And that was something you've also been dealing with. Why am I blanking? Plantar fasciitis, is that what we've been working on? Or the
Well,
arch?
it is. I have that, which a million and one people have, but I also have basically my arches are falling, and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a hereditary thing. My brothers have flat arches. I mean, theirs are
Mm-hmm.
like completely collapsed. Mine are just painful, and I have to wear supports like these wraps around my feet,
Mm-hmm.
and it causes swelling up even into my ankle. So that's what I struggle with. Like, I can't go shoeless. I just can't. I always have to have
Mm-hmm.
shoes on. I know, like you told me when I lift to go barefoot,
Mm-hmm.
it hurts. Like, I still have to wear my arch supports when I'm
Mm-hmm.
working out. Um, yeah. So that's my biggest health issue is just my feet. But when your feet hurt, it's like everything hurts.
Yeah,
It's
no, that
hard.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
How, I know we talked about this a little bit, but how did you feel whenever I said, like, Sharie, and we did have this conversation recently, actually, like, we have to eat more food
Yeah.
if we want to lose weight?
Well, it makes no sense. You know what I mean? It really doesn't make sense initially, but it's working. I mean, I'm eating more and more. Sometimes at night, like I have to force feed a banana, like at night, just to get, because I struggle, it seems like, to get my carbs in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it just didn't make sense to me, but it does now. I mean, I have to, I guess, build my metabolism back up because it's
Mm-hmm.
broken. I mean, I was living on nothing, and I have
Mm-hmm.
so many friends and relatives who are starving themselves, and I try to explain, but it's just like it's turning everything upside down for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I struggled with that. But it does work. I mean, it's a slow process, but
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. I mean, I'm 60 years old. Hopefully I have time, you know, never know.
You definitely do now. Your metabolism is way higher
Yes.
than it was when we first started.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I'm at, like 1900 calories.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
keep, I weigh myself every morning and I keep waiting for that scale to like jump. And it's not, I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's not like I'm dropping weight, but it slowly, truly is still kind of coming down. I'm like,
Hmm.
my weight kind of fluctuates a little, but the average is slowly going down, I think. Um, yeah. I just can't wait to diet. You know that.
Yes, we've talked about that. So I'll explain it for everyone. So when Sharie came to me, I remember her 3 day average of what she was eating was way different from reality. In reality, you were eating like 900 to 1,000 calories a day, which is quite low, right? I've
Right.
never put anyone that low of food. And when you want to lose weight, we typically, what do? We reduce calories, so our body will start lowering. But when you are so low, eating next to nothing, where are you going to go? We
Right.
can't go lower.
Right.
The best thing that we can do, and I always think of it from a long-term perspective, is we can go up. So we build the metabolism up so that way when your body is healthy, you are more likely to lose weight and keep it off. So we've been building Sharie's diet all the way up, and I mean diet by like all encompassing what you're eating.
Right.
Now we are around 1,900 calories. We might have a little bit left in us, hopefully. And then now that her body is getting trained to eat that much food, she's been building muscle the whole time,
Right.
lifting weights. When
And
we
there's that part of it too. Yeah.
Yes, so lifting weights has definitely helped obviously build muscle and give us the ability to eat more food. We'll be able to go from, let's say it's like almost 2,000 calories, we'll be able to drop slowly and then her weight will also come down. So this whole time that we've been gaining, eating more and more food from 1,000 to like 1,900, we saw your weight jump from what was around
Drop.
200. Yeah, drop from not jump, drop from 230-ish. Now we're down 196, 197 on average.
Right. Right. So I've lost 30, 35 pounds,
Yeah.
something like that. And, granted, I've done that many times before, much more quickly.
Mhm.
But, in the year I've been with you, I would have lost and gained that weight back,
Mhm.
plus
Yeah.
10% on a fad diet or,
Yeah.
anything else probably.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I do feel like this is more sustainable. I never feel like I'm starving myself. I just have to think, you have to think about what you're eating,
Mhm.
obviously.
Yeah.
And I think the good thing is I feel like there's a lot. I'm able to just go back on the bandwagon the next day and not totally go off eating a whole birthday cake because I had one piece. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Which is what I would do in the past. I just feel like I'm a little more rational on this diet.
And that's the best part, right? I don't know how many times I've said it many, many times, is that we could get the results. You could probably get the results you want using any crash dieting method or whatever it is, even working with me. But if we don't change how we think about things and the way we approach when we have a slip up or we
Right.
incorporate something fun, if you keep the old habits of like, I have to be perfect or it has to be this way, or it's not worth it, then you're going to fall back into
Right.
the same old patterns, into the same, you're going to see yourself slowly gain weight. And that happens all the time with people, just like during the New Year's, where maybe they feel like they have to be perfect. And then they have a birthday party or they have pizza one night and then they're like, oh, whatever, it's done. Might as well like just keep
Yeah,
going down this way.
exactly. I've already had one piece. What's another three,
Yes.
or whatever. And
Yes.
I don't know why I feel different on this diet, but I just do.
It's
Maybe
good.
it's just finally, maybe I'm just mature enough or old enough, whatever, to realize, okay, screwed up, just move
Hmm.
on. And
Yeah.
it's not a screw up. I mean, sometimes you want to just enjoy something or
Hmm.
have we eat out a lot. And that's been the hardest thing on this diet is getting my husband on board because,
Hmm.
it's a struggle a little bit.
Hmm.
I would be happy eating chicken every night at home, and he wants to go
Mhm.
out and have food. But, we work through it.
Mhm.
That's honestly probably been one of the toughest things for me.
It's not to say that we can't go out to eat because I don't want people
Right,
to think like, oh no, I can never go out to eat. But it's finding that balance because we know when you go out to eat, not you, but you as in general,
right,
the foods are going to have more oil in it. They're going to be a bigger serving size. They're going to be all these things. So if we can control more of what we're eating, and when we do go out to eat, think, oh, these are some better options that we could have. Because when you get into that mentality of like, this is the last time I can ever have this food,
right,
right? And then you're like eating the entire thing, plus, asking for dessert and things like that. So it's finding that like balance
right.
is really important.
And I actually think that a lot. And you have said that before. Always think this isn't the last time I can have a pizza, or this isn't the
Right,
last time I'm going to have a piece of chocolate.
right.
Like, control. Think about it.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. What's your favorite part so far of just working with me and this program in general?
Um, Probably the accountability.
Hmm.
I mean, it does help to be accountable. Um, I would say that, and almost even with that, as much as some days and some weeks it's hard to get all my workouts in, I really like the way I feel. Even if I hadn't lost a lick of weight, I just feel so much better. I have muscles again. I can help move furniture. I can get up and down without rolling across the floor.
Hmm.
I can sit Indian style. Like I used to think I'm going to have grandbabies probably soon, and I want to be able to sit on the floor with them. I couldn't do that before. So
Hmm.
I think probably my favorite part has been, even though sometimes it's my least favorite part, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
is the strength training because
nice.
I was so weak. I was
Yeah,
so weak. I really was.
we
And
started very bare bones.
yeah, I really did. And 25 years ago, 30 years ago, I was a strong person. So
Hmm.
it kind of was like all of a sudden, like I said, what happened? How did I become this person?
Hmm.
So that I think has been my favorite part. I mean, it's nice to lose weight, but I've done that before. You
Yeah.
know, it's good to kind of feel like my old self a little bit and just have that
Hmm.
strength back.
I like that. That's good. What we kind of hit on this before, but what maybe besides eating more food, there any other misconceptions you had with weight loss and eating more food or whatever, things like that?
Misconceptions with, um, I can't really think of anything with food. I know with the strength training, and
Hmm.
I know you're always putting your memes on about this, that if I lift weights, I'm going to get bulky because
Hmm.
I'm a big person. I mean, I always laugh. My brothers tease me. I am from like a big boned family. We're just
Hmm.
very like solid people, dense. I've never been a tiny person in my whole life.
Hmm.
And my dad used to tell me, because I worked with a trainer probably 30 years ago, and I was really kind of bulking up. I got very broad. And my dad used to say, Sharie, don't do that because you're starting to look like a linebacker. So I think that's a misconception that if you
Hmm.
lift weights, you're going to start looking bulky, you
Hmm.
know. And I was a little concerned with that, to be honest, because I used to work with this guy and he was kind of like a slave driver and I was lifting heavy weights. And I don't know, maybe it was just a time in my life, but I don't feel like that's happening. And my weights aren't that heavy,
Hmm.
because
Yeah,
I
it
was starting from ground zero.
right. And it's also like, I know women get nervous about that, and I try to remind them that there's so many factors in that. One, genetics, right? Some people just gain muscle easier than others. That's like a known fact. Um, like my sister, for example, she is like 5 foot tall. So when she gains muscle, her limbs are a lot shorter. So it's more noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's really hard to gain muscle because I have long limbs. So it's just a lot more, area to cover with
Right.
muscle. So I can see, okay, if you gain muscle easier, there are ways with your food and ways with your training to mitigate, the size that we grow. But something that women kind of forget about is that as you age, of course, we're losing bone density, but also your body's ability to adapt and change faster decreases.
Right.
So the odds of us getting to this, linebacker size in your 60s is a lot
Right.
harder than it is in your 20s.
Right.
But I mean, most of the women I think that people get nervous about becoming, they're on, why am I blanking on the name? They're on like hormonal supplements to help with that, like bodybuilders and
Right.
things like that. So getting to that size is like really, really hard. And like,
Right.
it's like I want to get really, really strong and have a lot of muscle, but it's freaking hard.
Mhm.
So some people, they're just afforded that luxury. They can like touch a dumbbell and gain, a
Yeah.
lot of size. And it's just a matter of how you train and then also how much food you're eating and like monitoring that too.
Yeah.
But that's a really good topic. What were your goals, what would you say, before we started? Like when we first started, what was like the number one goal?
To get healthy,
Mm.
honestly. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, I wanted to lose weight, but that truly
Mhm.
was secondary. I wanted to just feel better because I
Mhm.
really felt crappy when we started this. I mean, I felt like a slob. You know what I mean? Everything
Mhm.
you put on just looks bad. Just, I felt like I was exhausted all the time. I just didn't have strength, all that kind of stuff. So my goal was to kind of just start feeling a little healthier. Obviously, I did want to lose weight, but that was truly secondary. I used to say, I just want to be able to tuck my shirt in again and not,
Mhm.
I don't have these great goals. I'm 60. I just want to be healthy
Yeah.
and lose a little weight. I
Yeah.
mean, now that I've lost some weight, I want to lose more, obviously. I need more, obviously. But, if I would lose another 35 pounds, I'd be really happy,
Mhm.
I don't know what my doctor would say. The charts they have, I think I'd have to be dead to get down to where they want me.
No.
Yeah, they're crazy, but yeah, I feel like it truly, like maybe I'm about halfway there to what I would want to lose weight wise.
Yeah.
But that was not. I mean, yes, I want to lose weight, but that wasn't
Yeah.
what got me going at the
That's
beginning.
good. And that's usually not a lot of people. So I'm glad we're talking about that because typically when I find women start with me is they're like weight loss, weight loss, weight
Right,
loss, right? And then like halfway through, they're like, oh, there are so many more things that we could focus on besides weight loss because a lot of the time, including myself, you get to this number, this hypothetical number where you're like, I'm gonna feel amazing when I get there. And then you get there and you're like, this isn't it. Like
right,
I still want more. So if you guys can think like, let's have more goals, like Sharie has, like being able to sit on the floor with her grandkids, like that's important to her. That's really driving because you can't, you can maybe achieve that with weight loss, but with strength, the
right,
ability to rotate, the mobility, that's something that's going to keep you going. So I always love to have goals that are beyond just a number so you can find more ways to like stay motivated with that.
right,
I like
right.
that. Um, Other question, what do you feel like was holding you back from reaching this? Because it's not, I mean, we are doing more things, obviously eating more food and strength training, but let's say you had that before. What would be holding you back, maybe mentally or just from reaching these goals?
You know what? I think I always used to find an excuse
Mm,
that it wasn't a good time. We
mhm,
have a pretty busy life.
mhm,
We travel a lot, we entertain a lot. Um, and I think I was always like, next week, I'll start next week.
mhm,
Or after we get this out of the way, I will begin. And that goes on forever. All of a sudden, 10 years have gone by,
mhm,
not done anything. And truly, I
mhm,
remember like on my 50th birthday thinking, I gotta start getting back to my old self, yada, yada, yada. And all of a sudden I was 60. And basically
mhm,
I just kept putting it off because,
mhm.
oh, we have this weekend. I don't want to start. Or we have this event in a month and let's just wait till after that, or holiday or whatever. So that, and honestly, I think when you pushed me like, just start now, even though you're going to Florida, start now, was the best thing ever,
Mhm.
because I, I know she's not watching. I have a sister-in-law that's really struggling, and you have that program right now, that 18-week.
Mhm. Start to lift.
Yeah, and I sent her that. I'm like, you ought to consider this. She
Hmm.
has a gym I would love to have in her home, and
Hmm.
it's just sitting there. And I said, you ought to think about this. And she's like, well, I have this and I have this. And she does have some things coming up, but there's never a good time. And I just wanted
Yeah.
to say that, but you can only say so much,
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just never a good time.
Yeah. And like you said, like you were at 50 saying this, I'm going to do it. And then 10 years goes by.
And I mean, I sound like an old person, but in the blink of an eye, you're like, what happened? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No, that's super, super powerful because there's never a good time. And I
Oh,
do remember saying that to you because I remember Carrie told me, she was like, she's a social butterfly. You are my social butterfly out of my clients. Like you do the most, but you're also one of the hardest workers because you do all these things. You invite people over, you go to Florida, you do this and that, but you still get the work done. Those are,
definitely.
I promise you are very, very adherent, and it's hard to do that when you're that social. So that's really cool to see that you can do all these things and still reach your health goals. It's just a matter of you want to use being social as I can't do it,
Right,
or use it as like I'm going to be social and reach my
right,
goals.
right. Like, and I mean, going back to like entertaining, I used to always, not to sound like a lush, but I would have a drink
Mhm.
all the time. Now, when we go to dinner with people, I just get sparkling water, put a lime in it, looks
Mhm.
like a drink, and actually, I feel much better.
Yeah.
So I really very rarely drink anymore, and I don't miss it. I mean,
Hmm.
I will have a glass of wine with dinner sometimes, but oh my gosh, it has really become very rare.
Hmm.
We have a big event at our house this weekend, and I probably will not have a drop to drink. I
Hmm.
mean, I'll probably just be too busy, but um, yeah,
Yeah.
cutting alcohol does help a lot too. I didn't think about that, but cutting out
Definitely
alcohol
does.
is a good thing to do.
Yeah. We just switched the calories. We went from empty to nutrient dense.
Right, exactly, exactly.
That is very cool. What do you think has really made you the most successful? I feel like part of it's like just not making an excuse anymore.
Yeah, that not making an excuse and also going back to not becoming defeated when I slip
Mm,
up. Because, you know, years past, if I was on Weight Watchers or whatever diet, if on Saturday I had pizza or I just totally blew the day, then I'd be like, hell, I'll just eat what I want tomorrow
mhm,
and kick back on Monday. And then all of a sudden you're just off the program. And I
mhm,
think that mindset of sticking with it, even if I have bad days, and I find that I don't have as many bad days as on other programs. Maybe it's because I am eating more. So
mhm.
it's harder to have a bad day.
Yeah.
I think that's helped a lot.
Mhm. Yeah. It's a
And
lot of
the
mindset.
accountability, like,
Yeah.
I'm paying you, so I'm not going to, I want to make this work, and I
Yeah.
have to fill out my little form, and, so.
Yeah. I'm gonna check it. And say, hey, Sherry, you got to eat more food.
Right, right, which sounds
Yeah.
so crazy, but yeah.
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 That is super good. What would you say to someone who is on the fence of hiring a coach? Doesn't have to be me. It could be anyone they're comfortable with, or maybe starting to resistance train, or just starting on their journey. What would you tell them?
Just do it. I mean, it's like the Nike, just do it. I mean, do anything is better than nothing.
Hmm.
I think it's well worth the investment to pay for coaching because at least me, I'm not good at like reading a book and following a program. I need someone to tell me
Hmm.
what to do. So, I mean, if you have the ability to do that, I think it's well worth it.
Awesome. No, I agree because I always say this to everyone. Like, I have my own coach
Right,
too, because at the end of the day, I'm tired. I'm helping everyone else. I want someone to help me with my own.
right. Tell you what to do. Yeah,
Hmm. And feel
exactly.
supported.
Right,
Awesome.
right.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Sherry. You
No
are
problem.
wonderful. You're my rock star. You and Carrie and Anita. Anita's watching this too. She's my other rock star as well. But I'm just so happy we've been able to work with each other for this long, and I can't wait till we get to our first
I
diet
know.
phase. And
Me either.